low-cost supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. Freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high-quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low-cost supermarket, Sun and Main Road, Cunupia.
Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to See Results on IBN TV, Channel 8. And you're also watching us, or you might be watching us, on the IBN TV Facebook page, as well as our See Results Facebook page. All right, I am Sir Ijaz Ramsahai, and I will be doing the mathematics with you all this evening. All right, so I just have a number of things to highlight before we commence today's program. All right, I have noticed, in contrast to this Monday when we would have done the weekly report, last week, the students did exceptionally well in interpreting the bar graphs as well as in comparing fractions, as well as comparing fractions and the bar graphs, right? They did absolutely great, fantastic on that. Now, last week we began looking at units of length, all right, and converting units of length. We've already done converting from larger units to smaller units, all right? And we did some converting of the smaller units to the larger units on Monday's program of this week, all right? So the assignment that was given over the weekend, which was made available to you on Saturday morning, it really just entailed converting from larger to smaller units, which tends to be the easier one, all right? And it's working with decimals and multiplying decimals by 10, 100, 1,000, and so on. And students seem to be struggling quite a bit with it, all right? Of course, this is natural, all right? Some topics give students more difficulty. It takes a while longer for them to comprehend it and to fully understand and internalize it, as well as to be able to replicate and apply it, all right? So with that in mind, we've continued with our lesson. We've stuck in measurement for a little bit longer, and we're doing something that's very much related, all right? So we've already covered the units of length and converting units of length from larger to smaller units, which involves multiplication, and the smaller to the larger units, which involves the division, all right? But you might also be asked in SEA to convert between units of mass, all right? So just briefly on Monday, we spent the last couple of minutes discussing it a little bit. But of course, we're going to go into it now with some more detail, with some more explanation. And because the conversion technique is basically the same, all right, this will hopefully help those students who didn't fully understand or grasp the concept as yet, all right, to be able to apply it when they do their assignment, which is due tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m., all right? But if you've done it already and it was challenging, you weren't able to get the marks, the heights that you achieved in the previous assignment, that's no worries, because we have, again, Saturday morning, we'll have new quizzes, new assignments up for you, and you'll have a second bite at the cherry, all right, because you'll be converting now the units of mass. I may also throw back in a couple length conversions in there. So use today's session, please pay attention, please focus. All right, so many of our callers call in and they get it right, and we expect that those who call a lot of the time, not in all cases, but they are confident, they know what they are going to say, all right? But there are students who are at home, they might be a bit more shy, all right? And, you know, we are really targeting you all today, all right? So please, of course, we're not discouraging anyone from calling in, all right? We have had calls, many calls in the past where students didn't get the answer right off the bat, and we worked with them, and that is always fantastic, all right? Because that helps the students at home, you know, who are ashamed to ask a question. But we urge you, you know, you're not in a physical classroom right now. There's nobody, you know, except maybe mommy, daddy, or your guardian, your sibling, or whoever is with you, to be there with you. And believe you me, they are in your corner, all right? So if you know that is giving you trouble and you want to call us in and work some problems out with us, if you get it wrong, it's not the end of the world, as we say, all right? This is what C Results is all about. It's about improvement, all right? So that when you do the real exam, hopefully, you know, we'll try to take you to a point where you will be more confident in the exam, all right? So, you know, I know some of you all would have done the assignment. You may not have done all that well. Again, the previous episodes, they are all available on the Facebook page under the videos tab, all right? So you can look at those episodes. That would have been this Monday, as well as last week, Thursday's episodes, where we really comprehensively looked at converting units of length, all right? And of course, you will be looking at Monday's episode, where we, Monday's episode and today's episode, and all of them will be available on Facebook as well as on our YouTube channel, all right? So if you are someone watching at home on TV, and maybe you don't have the time to watch the reruns when they are shown Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 5 to 7 p.m., and you know you have some other time in the day, those reruns or those episodes are there available for you on our YouTube channel, all right? So look for C Results on YouTube and do subscribe. And I urge you all, once again, when the assignments and quizzes are posted on a Saturday morning, you don't have to run off and do it just that instant, especially if you know that you are not, you know, ready, or that you haven't understood the material fully. The beautiful thing about rewatching it on the Facebook and on the YouTube channel is that you can pause, you know, you can try to work the problems out before you can hit play and see if you got the right answer or not, and repeat that process for the other questions. And, you know, hopefully, God willing, you will be improving with time, all right? So, as we said, we are, for those of you who, you know, are just hearing about this for the first time, you maybe haven't even a clue about what I just talked about, the assignments and so on. That's okay. You visit www.edmodo.com, all right, or you download the Edmodo app, and you register your child, or you join a class using this code on the screen right now, 6KJQ3Y, and every week we post quizzes and assignments that are aimed at improving your students' understanding and grasp of the material that they are expected to know for the SEA exam. All right, they get very timely feedback for the math and ELA. It's basically instantaneously. As soon as you finish the exam, you click review, you see what you got right, what you got wrong, and even what the right answer is. All right, of course, we also take creative writing submissions, and we will read every single piece of writing that is submitted to us, and we even feature some of them on the show. All right, so parents, this is a very exciting way for your child to do, you know, to do work and to improve without the pressure of being, you know, viewed by peers and so on. They are doing it in the privacy of their home on their own time, you know, with their devices or your devices, as the case may be, all right? So please do get on board with us. Now, all right, so again, the measurement strand of mathematics is one of 4 that is tested in the SEA exam, including as well number and geometry, as well as statistics. All right, previously we were looking at length, and now we've moved on to mass and weight. The types of problems that you're given are very similar. All right, so this is new, as well as it is a sort of revision for the length conversion. All right, so when the program was conceived, it was one of the aims that if, you know, something was not understood fully, we can do it over again, all right, for your benefit. And of course, you have the options of rewatching it on Facebook and YouTube at any time, as many times as you would like, right? So the standard unit of mass in the metric system, last time we spoke a little bit about the metric system, well, 2 episodes ago when we first got introduced to length, all right, it is the gram, all right, and like the meter, this is also basically a decimal system, all right, and what do we mean by that? Well, actually, before we even get there, mass and weight, although they are technically not exactly the same at this level, you know, for the SEA level, we're going to assume that they are basically the same thing. It has to do with the amount of matter, right, in an object, and we also liken it to weight, all right? That those numbers that you get when you stand on a scale, for instance, so you weigh some food on a scale, all right? We are equating, or we are saying that those things are equivalent, all right? Mass and weight. Okay, so there are units of mass that are smaller, and there are some that are even larger than a gram. And remember, this was also the case for our meter, all right? We had the smaller units like the millimeter, the centimeter, the decimeter, and so on, and we had the larger units like the decameter, the hectometer, and the kilometer, and we said that the most commonly used in those were the centimeter, the millimeter, the meter, and the kilometer, right? The most widely used in your day-to-day life, all right? And like that, or likewise, we have the units of mass that are more commonly used, all right? We also have those same prefixes, the same milli, deci, and centi, and so on when it comes to grams, all right, for the smaller as well as for the larger. But in actual practical usage, all right, you're going to get more often than not the grams and the kilograms, all right? And of course, there are also smaller and larger units related to the gram, all right? We have a smaller one that's also used, all right, the milligram, used to measure the mass of lighter objects, and we also have the kilogram and the ton that is used for heavier objects, all right? So the ton might seem a bit different because it isn't, you know, gram with some prefix in front of it, but it really is 1,000,000 grams, right, or 1,000 kilograms. That makes a metric ton, all right? So again, we had this mnemonic device. You can come up with your own, whichever that you might, you know, want to substitute those letters for. You might not even need one of these to remember them, all right? But it was just something that might be handy, all right? And of course, it's going to help you to know what to divide and what to multiply by when you're converting your units, all right? So we have the kilo being 1,000. In this case, 1,000 grams being a kilogram. You know, the hectogram would be 100 grams. The decagram being 10 grams, and then the base, all right, at the base level, you have the gram. 1/10 of the gram would be decigram, all right? 1/100th a centigram, and 1,000th of a gram would be a milligram, all right? So these are the, of course, there are more prefixes than this, but this pretty much covers what you will be encountering in your time as an SEA level student, in particular the kilo, the base, whether it's the meter or the gram. You'd see the centi and the milli. You won't really get tested too much on the decigram, all right? Or the decimeter for that matter. All right. So again, we have this nice graphic here to liken it or to show why we say that it's basically a decimal system. All right. So if you weren't paying attention this time, you really need to listen today, okay? We have the gram as the basic unit, all right? We have the decigram, all right, or which is like similar to our ones, all right, in our normal place value chart of our decimal system, our decimal number system, all right, or our base 10 system, which we learned about all the way back in our first and second episodes of mathematics, all right? We have the decigram, which is like our tenths, all right, because it's 1/10 of a gram, all right? We have the centigram, which is like our hundredths, all right, because it's 1/100th of a gram, and we have the milligram, which is our thousandths, all right, which is right, like our thousandths in our regular place value chart, all right? And then going in the other direction now, we have the decagram being 10 grams, or like our tens in our place value chart. We have the hectogram being like our hundreds, all right? And we have the kilo being like our thousands. And of course, we'll also discuss the ton a little bit, which is a few steps further in this direction, all right, because it's actually 1,000 kilograms, all right? So, all right, one of our objectives, as I said the last time, is to be able to estimate or to determine what is the best unit of measure of mass for various objects that we'll encounter in day-to-day life. All right, remember, our goals and our objectives as students is not only about passing an exam, although that is very important. All right, these things give us practical knowledge and practical skills that we can use in our daily life. All right, so, you know, for instance, we spoke about, you know, purchasing lengths of material for the length exercise. You want to look at weight. You know, there might be various things that you might want to purchase. All right, you don't want somebody to promise you X amount of something and really undersell you because, you know, they outsmarted you. You weren't able to really judge or assess or estimate basically what weight something might be based on its size. All right, of course, it's a little more technical than that, all right, than length, okay, because different things can be different weights, you know, have different mass, for example, and be wildly different in size, all right? But for the most part, we need to be able to use it to, like, estimate regular everyday objects, all right? So with that in mind, we do have a few questions here on the board, and I would like you to call in, all right? And those numbers are going to be placed up on the screen right now, and tell me what you think is the most practical unit of mass for measuring these four common objects, all right? So I gave you all some already, all right, the ones that we'll be working with. We have the milligram, we have the gram itself, we have the kilogram, and we even have the tons, all right? So if you think you know what unit or what measure of mass is the most appropriate for measuring any of these four objects, please call in now, all right? So I have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah.
And who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello, good day.
Yes.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Abdulaziz.
Hey, salam alaikum, Abdulaziz.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So can you tell me what is the most appropriate unit or most practical unit of mass for a pill or a tablet, like a Panadol and so on, that you take when you're not feeling so well? Any ideas?
Millimeters.
All right, so you have the correct prefix there, but remember, meters is the unit of what? A unit for measuring what? We use meters to measure length, all right? But for the mass now, what is the basic unit of mass? Is it the meter? No. All right, so the meters, as we said, we use that for measuring length, all right, or distances. But we are dealing with mass or weight here now. So you have the milli part correct. But milli what?
Milliliter.
All right, so it's a milligram, all right? It's a milligram. All right. Okay, Abdulaziz, thank you so much for your contribution. Now, he had the right prefix, of course, the milli, all right, meaning 1,000 of. And if you look at many common medicines, many common pills, especially the smaller ones, you will see that the weight is given in milligrams, all right? So I have another caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Good evening. This is Nicholas.
Hey, how are you doing, Nicholas?
I'm fine.
All right, Nicholas. for your body weight, what do you think is the most practical unit of mass to use?
For number 2, your weight, you're measuring kilograms.
Excellent. Kilograms, right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicholas. All right. So I'll be taking another call. All right. Do I have another? Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Yeah.
Hi, and who am I speaking with? Hello? Hi, good day. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. All right, so that caller doesn't seem to be hearing us. All right, so we have the pill, as we said, the milligram being the most practical unit, kilogram being most practical for the body weight. And do I have another caller on the line? Good evening. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Yeah.
Hi, good day. And who am I speaking with?
David Alonso.
Welcome, David. Can you tell me, David, what might be the most practical unit of mass for measuring a can of peas?
Gram.
All right, great. Grams. And David, do you want to just round off this last one here for me? What you think the most practical unit is for measuring the weight or the mass of a truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tons.
Tons. And how much is a ton, David?
1,000, a million grams.
1,000,000 grams. Excellent. And in terms of kilograms, do you know?
1,000 kilograms.
Very, very well done, David. Thank you so much, David, for that call. All right, so David was very much on the button there. All right, he said it's 1,000,000 grams, which it is. All right, 1,000,000 grams or 1,000 kilograms. All right, so just bear this in mind, people. All right, these are some common items. All right, and these are the most practical units of mass that we'd use to measure them with. All right, and some things to note. All right, just like in our length conversions, all right, when we are converting from something bigger or a larger unit, right, to a smaller one, we have to multiply. All right, it's like you're taking something that's bigger and breaking it up into smaller pieces to measure it. All right, for instance, you have a loaf of bread. All right, you have one loaf of bread, and you cut that loaf into 12 equal slices, all right, or 10 slices, let's say. And each slice, we call it, I don't know, a deci bread, all right, because we've cut the bread into 10 slices. All right, of course, we're going to end up now with 10 deci breads, all right? So pardon the ridiculousness of it all right, but if we cut it into like 100 slices now, we have 100 slices of bread from that one bread, all right? In terms of units now, individual units, we have 100 as opposed to 1. All right, so we'll have 100 centibreads. All right, if we could cut that same bread into 1,000 slices of bread, all right, we've gone from having one loaf of bread to having 1,000 slices. You know, it might be very thin slivers of bread now. All right, and we're going to call each of those a milli bread. All right, so I hope that brings some clarity. So whenever we are converting from a larger unit to a smaller one, we have to multiply, and multiply usually means that we're going to get more, all right? So it always means that we're going to get more, all right? Although it really is the same amount in terms of you breaking it up now into smaller pieces, you're going to have more pieces than you did at the beginning, all right? So, right, so when we are multiplying, and most of these problems, when you're converting mass, you're converting length, it's going to be moving between these prefixes, all right? And each of them, as we said, are powers of 10, all right? You know, you have 10 of something, 100 of something, 1,000 of something, 10,000, 100,000, a million, right? Like the case of our ton to our gram, all right? We move our decimal point one place to the right when we are multiplying, all right? For 10, we're multiplying for 100, for example, we'll move it 2 times. 1,000, we'll move it 3 times. And again, it's very easy to know how many times to move it. You just have to look at the number of zeros, all right? So a lot of people fell down so far in our unit conversion of length exercise on Edmodo by moving the point one too many or one too few, all right? So you really have to count. For example, you might be tempted to move the decimal point 3 times when multiplying by 100 because there are 3 numerals in the number 100. But no, we are moving it twice, all right? And the hint is the number of zeros. It's very easy, actually, if you take your time and think about it, all right? It's just the number of zeros that we have to move the decimal point. And if we've run out of decimal fractions, we have to add a 0 for each place moved, all right? Great. And when we're going in the other direction now, we're going from a smaller unit to a larger one, all right? We have to divide, all right? We have to divide. So if there was some way for me to fuse those 1,000 slices or those 1,000 millibreads, all right, back into one loaf, all right? I don't know, maybe some master baker out there has a way to do that, all right? We'd be going from a lot of slices into just one loaf, all right? Now, yes, technically we have the same mass of bread, but we're talking about looking at it from a vantage point of the number of constituent parts, all right? So we went from it being broken down into many smaller ones and being joined into one whole, all right? Or maybe to even a bigger piece, all right? So, for example, we have that same 1,000 slices of bread, and every 10 slices we were able to smush back into one. We're going to end up with 100 slices, all right, or 100 centibreads, like that, all right? So I hope that my analogy is helping you a little bit, all right? So when we are dividing now by powers of 10, we move our decimal point 1 or more places to the left, all right? So we multiply, we move to the right, and when we divide, we move to the left, all right? So just like when we're multiplying, we move the number of zeros, all right? We move to the left once for 10, 2 for 100, 3 for 1,000, and like that. And again, your hint is to look at the number of zeros, all right? And again, if there are no more numbers, we have to add a 0 for each place moved, all right? And we did a number of questions on the last program and the program before that, all right? Many, many examples. So I urge you, all right, after today's show, all right, and before you, for those of you who haven't done the assignment on Edmodo yet, please review those videos, all right, those episodes, Monday's episode and last week, Thursday's episode, all right? Make sure to have a look at the examples before you attempt to do the Edmodo quiz. Of course, time is running out. It's going to be due tomorrow at 11:59 p.m., all right? But like I said, because we've covered, or we are covering mass conversion now, which is very similar, you're going to have another opportunity for those of you who didn't do so well. And by the way, there were, as there is every time, you know, sometimes we have some topics where the average mark of the class is a bit lower, sometimes it's higher, but regardless, there are always those students who do exceptionally well and those who do not so great, all right? But this time, it's proving to be a bit of a challenge for our students, but like we said, that's our purpose here, is to help you, all right? So for the mass and weight conversions, we have less of a key to remember, actually, all right? Because when you're converting in the length, you have to know how to convert from centimeter to millimeter and vice versa, all right? From millimeter to meter and vice versa. You also need to know how to convert from meters to kilometers and also in the opposite direction, all right? So we have some more units there. We have the centimeter, we have the millimeter, right? We have the kilometer, and you're expected to know conversions even between the fractions, all right? So you have to be able to convert from millimeters to centimeters, all right? And also millimeters to meters, okay? But here now in the mass, these are what you are typically required to convert between milligrams to grams, all right? And it's 1,000 of those to 1, all right? Grams to kilograms, which is again 1,000 grams to 1 kilogram. And you might be asked about kilograms to tons, although this was not so common, all right? But again, it's 1,000 kilograms making up 1 ton. So the conversion should be much easier anytime you see mass conversion, all right? Unless they ask you to go from milligrams all the way up to tons, or tons all the way down to milligrams. But, you know, so far in my examination or review of the past papers and those types of questions, that hasn't really happened, all right? So you will likely have an easier task when you're converting the mass, because you'll just be multiplying by 1,000 or dividing by 1,000, all right? For the most part, especially for the section 1, all right? So we have some questions here now up on our screen, and we welcome you to call, all right? And you have to do 2 things for me. You have to tell me if we are moving from a smaller unit to a larger unit, or a larger unit to a smaller unit, and what is the rate of conversion, whether we have to multiply or divide, all right? And of course, then we'll work the answer out together. So there are currently 3 questions behind me, all right? So if you think you know the answer to any of these, feel free to give us a call. So I have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hello?
Hi, good day. And who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Hello? Hello?
All right. So that's someone there might be hopped up on some very sugary frosted flakes or something like that. All right, so hopefully we have another caller on the line and a better state of mind. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Hi, good day.
Hello?
Hi, good day. And who am I speaking with?
Ebenezer Smart.
Hey, welcome, Ebenezer. Ebenezer, we have to convert 12 grams to milligrams, all right? Which is bigger, the gram or the milligram?
The grams.
Right, the gram is bigger. And how many milligrams make a gram, Ebenezer?
Pardon?
How many milligrams make a gram?
1,000.
1,000, all right? So in doing this conversion, what do I have to do? Do I have to multiply by 1,000 or divide by 1,000? So we've already established that the gram is bigger, right? So we are going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, all right?
Yeah.
And you told me that there are 1,000 milligrams in a gram, all right? So when we are going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, do we multiply or do we divide?
Divide.
All right, so, okay. So remember my comical example here with the bread. If we have one big loaf of bread and we're breaking it up into smaller pieces of bread, won't we end up with more pieces of bread at the end? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right, so you'll end up with more, right? So more, if we're going to end up with more, it means that we are multiplying.
Multiplying.
Very good. So what do I have to do from this stage on now, Ebenezer?
Multiply by 1,000.
All right, and what will that give me?
12,000.
12,000. And what's our unit?
Milligrams.
Milligram. All right, Ebenezer. Thank you so much for that call. All right, so that's perfect. All right. Ebenezer called. He was a little bit shaky. All right, he had all the bits and pieces, you know. It was just in order for him to put it together in his mind and to resolve whether he had to multiply or divide. All right, so I have another caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hello,
Hi, good day. And who am I speaking with?
Jeremiah Williams.
Okay, welcome to the program. I have 2,650 milligrams that I have to convert to grams. Can you tell me which unit is bigger, the milligram or the gram?
The gram is bigger.
So I'm going from smaller to bigger or bigger to smaller?
Smaller to bigger.
Excellent. And when we are going from smaller to bigger, what do we have to do?
We have to divide by 1,000.
Right, and why we dividing by 1,000?
Because the grams is bigger than the milligrams.
Right, but why we dividing by the number 1,000 again?
We divided by the number 1,000 because 1,000 milligrams could go into 1 gram.
Right, 1,000 milligrams make 1 gram. So when I'm dividing by 1,000 now, what do I have to do?
You have to move. You have to move the point 3 spaces to the left.
Excellent. So where will my point end up?
Your point will end up between 2. The answer will be 2.65.
Excellent. 2.65 grams. Thank you so much for that call. You are absolutely right. Okay, so, you know, before I take another call, let's make sure that everyone understands. All right, we have 2,650 milligrams. All right, we said on our previous episodes that if you have a number and we don't have a decimal fraction component to that number, all right, there's a little hidden decimal point there before a whole bunch of zeros, all right, because there is nothing, there is no smaller or any fractional part of the number, all right, but technically there is a little decimal point there, and we need to move that point 3 spaces to the left because we are dividing, all right, and we are moving it 3 spaces because we are dividing by the number 1,000, all right. The number 1,000 has 3 zeros, all right, so we move our decimal point once, twice, 3 times, and we'd end up with 2.65. You know, if we want to be technically, or we want to be as technical as possible, 2.650 grams, all right, but because this 0 here basically tells us that there are no thousands, all right, in our number, we don't actually have to write it, just like we don't write the decimal point normally if there is no fraction in our answer, all right, so just as we don't write 2650.0, all right, milligrams, okay, when we divided it by 1,000 now, and we move the point to between the 2 and the 6 there, all right, we have 2.650 grams, all right, it is not necessary to write back that last 0 because it adds no more information to our number, all right, and we write it down as 2.65 grams. So our caller there was very correct. All right, so I have another caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Hi, good day, caller.
Yeah.
And who am I speaking with?
This is Nicholas.
Hey, welcome back, Nicholas.
Yeah. The kilograms, right, is bigger.
Right.
So 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram.
Yes.
So grams will be 1.25 times 1,000, and you move the point 3 places to the right, and you get 1,250 grams.
Excellent. Where that extra 0 came out from, Nicholas?
The extra zero is a placeholder.
All right. Okay. So very well done, Nicholas, and I'll give some more explanation there about that 0, right? So we have 1.25 kilograms. I should have asked him what was that as a fraction, you know, because we discussed that last time as well, right? So we have 1¼ kilograms or 1.25 kilograms. And as Nicholas very correctly pointed out, we are moving from a bigger again, all right, to a smaller unit, which means that we have to multiply, all right? And I told you all that, figuring out what number to multiply by for most of these mass weight problems is much easier, all right, because it's usually multiplying by 1,000, all right, or dividing by 1,000 based on that conversion chart that we would have seen a few moments ago, all right? So we said that when we are multiplying, we move the decimal point to the right based on the number of zeros that we have, right? And we have to move it 3 spaces. So we're moving it once, twice, and for every additional point or position that we move it after the last decimal fraction, we have to add a 0, all right? So we've ended up with 1,250 grams, all right? So with that, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll come back with a few more questions, and we'll wrap up mass and begin our next lesson in geometry, all right? So don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a couple of minutes break.
Shikleisha Limited, the Caribbean's largest manufacturers of plain and printed paper bags, leaders in plastic bags, vermicelli, split piece powder, and greaseproof paper, ideal for doubles, french fries, and sandwiches. Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Shikleisha Limited, 665-3336.
I'm a cool kid, you're a cool kid, we are cool kids, are you a cool kid? Every day I want it, I need to drink lots of it, full of fruit, vitamin C, give me lots of it. My imagination is growing and so am I. I'm getting big, so give me fruit of cool kids, it's so juicy, so I could touch the sky.
Become a cool kid now by visiting www.fruiticoolkids.com.
IBN can be viewed on the go now with the Airlink TV app for Google devices. Simply go to the Google Play Store, search for the Airlink TV app. Download the app, click on the link and fill out the form. The account activation will be emailed or texted to the user. It's safe as no credit card is needed. The first 30 days are free and you can subscribe and receive a box for your TV to stream the same content.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome back to See Results on IBN TV. All right, we've been working really hard today on getting this conversion business down. All right, as we said, these skills, these tools are applicable both for the conversion of length as well as the conversion between units of mass. All right, so we've identified that this is a problem area for our students, and we are trying to, really consolidate what it is we have been imparting for the last couple of sessions, all right? So again, at the end of this episode, and before those of you who haven't done your Edmodo assignment for this week as yet, you have until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow, all right? What you have been taught today will be very helpful, as well as for the specific conversion between the units of length. You can look at our previous 2 episodes, and they are all available on our Facebook page, See Results, under the Videos tab, and it's also available on See Results YouTube channels, which you can look for on YouTube, and you can subscribe, all right? So we've already converted, we've already attempted 3 problems, and once again, we are opening the lines up to you, and you are going to help us understand or apply what it is we have been taught today so far. All right, and it's, as I said, it's related to what we've been taught over the last couple of episodes. So we have 0.125 grams that we have to convert to milligrams. All right, we have 3,125 milligrams that we have to convert to grams, and we have 2¼ grams to milligrams. So if you know the answer to any of these, feel free to give us a call. I have a caller on the line already. Good evening. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi, my name is Tamara Johnson.
Hi, Damara. Welcome to the program. All right. So, Damara, I recognize that name from Edmodo.com. Am I right?
Yeah.
All right. So, I have 0.125 grams to convert to milligrams. Can you tell me which of those is the bigger unit? The grams, right? And what do I have to do in that case, Damara?
Grams plus 4 equals multiply. So I have to multiply 0.125
Yeah.
1,000
Right.
to get 125 milligrams.
125 milligrams. All right, Damara, thank you so much for that call. All right, I'm going to take calls for each of these now, getting as much practice as you can, students. I have another call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Yes, hello.
Hello, and who am I speaking with?
Michael Koshi.
Hey, welcome, Mikkel. Can you help me convert 3,125 milligrams to grams?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So the milligrams is bigger than the grams is bigger than the milligrams.
Right, the grams is bigger than the milligrams. So I'm going from smaller to a bigger one, or a bigger unit to a smaller unit?
You're going to a bigger unit or a smaller unit.
All right, you're going from a smaller to a bigger, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And how many milligrams are there in a gram?
3,125.
All right, we have 3,125 milligrams, but how many milligrams make up 1 gram?
1,000.
1,000, right? So we're going from smaller to bigger. Do we have to multiply or to divide?
You have to multiply.
All right, so when we are going from smaller, all right, from smaller pieces to a bigger piece, right, we have to divide and not multiply, right?
Okay.
So we have a smaller unit to a bigger. So we have to divide 3,125 by how much?
1,000.
Very good. And when we are dividing by 1,000, what do we have to do, Mr. Kwashi?
Divide and you get 3.125.
Excellent. How did you end up with 3.125?
When you convert it, it have 3 zeros in 1,000.
Right.
So you jump 3 times and you get the point.
You jump 3 times, right?
Yeah.
All right. Excellent work, sir. So we have 3.125 grams, and thank you so much for that call. I have okay. Do I have another caller on the line to help me with number 3? I have 2¼ grams, and I have to convert it to milligrams.
Hi, evening. This is Nicholas again.
Hey, welcome back, Nicholas. You know, I wanted the last time the situation was the opposite. It was something 0.25, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have 2¼ Can you tell me what 2¼ grams is as a decimal?
2.25.
Excellent. And I'm going from grams to milligrams. So is that bigger to smaller or smaller to bigger?
Bigger to smaller.
So what I have to do?
So 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram, right? So
Yeah.
2.25 times 1,000, which will give you 2,250 milligrams.
Excellent, excellent. And just like the last time, we have to add that additional
Zero.
zero,
As a
right?
placeholder.
Excellent. Well done, Nicholas.
Thanks.
All right, so that was Nicholas, my friends. very confident as ever. All right, so 2¼ grams is the same as 2,250 milligrams. All right, so that's all well and good. Now, let's have a look at some of those sample type questions that I pulled up for your practice, all right? Those questions that we've done so far, you know, they were just basic practice, the same thing basically over and over. Now they might put the question to you in all different ways in your SEA exam, all right? So we're going to show you some of the ways that they might do it. All right, so I have 17 kilograms and 80 grams, and I want to convert that to grams alone. All right, what do I do? Do I have anyone willing to assist me with this? Right, so feel free to call us in. I do have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. All right, what do I do? Do I have anyone willing to assist me with this? Right. So feel free to call us in. Caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. All right, caller. So this caller needs to lower the volume on their set and listen to us on the phone. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
Hello, and who am I speaking with?
Zara Kalu.
Okay, and welcome to the program. Can you help me to do this problem where we have to convert 17 kilograms and 80 grams to just grams? What do we have to do?
So first, I will change the 17,000 kilograms to grams first, which will be equal to 1,700 grams.
All right, so we changed 17 kilograms to grams. And as you said, that gives us how much? 17.
That will give us 1,700 grams.
You sure about that? What number we have to multiply 17 by to convert it to grams?
It will be 1,000.
All right. So what do I have to do now that I'm multiplying 17 by 1,000?
You will have to multiply it by 1,000. So that means since I have 1,000 grams in a kilogram,
go ahead. Hello? All right, so I think I might have lost that caller there. All right. Do I have another caller? Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
hello, evening.
Hi, good evening. And who am I speaking with?
Micah George.
Welcome, Micah George, a very hard-working student on edmodo.com. Micah, do you agree that if we were to multiply 17 by 1,000, that we'd get 1,700?
No,
How come?
because 17 times 1,000 is 17,000.
Right, like 17,000, right? We have to add how many zeros?
3.
3, because we're multiplying by 1,000 and we don't have any decimal fraction here to jump over, right? We're just multiplying by 1,000, so we're moving the decimal point. Remember that fancy invisible decimal point we spoke about? We move it 1, 2, 3, and as you rightly said, we end up with 17,000 grams, all right? So caller, previous caller, I hope you're paying attention. And go ahead, what do I have to do next? Go ahead, Micah.
So 1,000 times 17,
Right.
you'll get 17,000.
Right.
And then you say 80 times 100.
All right, but the 80 is given in what unit?
Grams.
Right, and we want our answer in what unit?
Grams.
Right, so do we have to convert that 80, you think?
No.
No, so what would we do now then, now that we know that?
Yeah, add the 17,000 and the 80.
Excellent, and what would that give me?
17,080 grams.
Right, 17,080 grams. Thank you so much, Micah. You are very correct. All right, so parents that are watching along with our students, all right, you might have an appreciation now for why they might falter a little bit, all right? Yes, it does get a little bit tricky knowing when to move your point, how much to move by, when to add a zero, and so on, all right? So it requires a lot of practice, all right? So just because they didn't do well, if they haven't done well on the Edmodo assignment, that's not the end of the world. They have their textbooks, they have their workbooks, they have their past papers. Every parent who has seen the results or will see when they do it by tomorrow night, if your child didn't do so great on this decimal conversion, all right, of units of length and mass, you know a problem area has been identified, and please spend some time helping them to master this, all right? And of course, we will make the quizzes re-available closer to the SEA date for them to redo all, okay? Now, I have another type of question here now, where they just say change 350 grams to kilograms. So do I have a caller that's there to assist me for this problem? All right, we are moving from grams to kilograms. I do have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi, evening. This is Nicholas again.
Hey, welcome back, Nicholas.
Yes, for number 8, right? 350 grams to kilograms. Now
Right.
we have the unit in grams, right? So
Yeah.
we say 350 divided by 1,000. So the point is understood after the zero. So we move it 3 places to the left, and you get 0.35 and 35 kilograms, or 0.350 kilograms.
All right. Excellent job, Nicholas. Excellent. All right. Said with such confidence and such passion for mathematics. I love that, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, all right, you're welcome. So we move the point 3 places to the left because we're dividing 1, 2, 3. All right. We said that it's conventional to put that 0 before the decimal point. All right. And it's also conventional to drop that last 0. All right. If there's no number after it. So he said 0.350. All right. And we don't need to express that last 0. So you get 0.35 kilograms. Of course, this is not incorrect, but this is the conventional way to state our answer, all right? So I have another question here, all right? And I have a caller on the line. So good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hello?
Hi, and who am I speaking with?
Micah George.
Hey, welcome back, Micah George. So I have a watermelon weighing 4.2 kilograms and a pumpkin weighing 2 kilograms and 250 grams. All right?
You could say it over again because I'm not seeing that on like my TV. I don't know. It's still on number 8.
All right. So we
All
have
right, now I'm seeing it.
Okay. All right. So we have 4.2 kilogram watermelon and a pumpkin weighing 2 kilograms and 250 grams. And I want the total weight in kilograms. Help me out there.
Just, I'm working it out now.
Sure, no problem. All right, so we want the total weight for our viewers out there while Micah works. We have the weight of the watermelon is already given in kilograms. All right, we want our final answer in kilograms. And we have the weight of the pumpkin in kilograms and grams. All right, so we have to convert one of these things first. All right, because
so when I add them, I get 6.45.
All right, so tell me, what is the weight of the pumpkin in kilograms?
4 in kilograms?
Yeah, the pumpkin alone. What is the weight of the pumpkin?
2,250 grams.
All right, 2,250 grams, right? All right. Okay, so that's the pumpkin. All right, and we have the watermelon. So your approach was to convert them both to grams.
Yeah.
All right. So so this pumpkin is 2,250 grams, right? What is the weight of the watermelon in grams then?
The 4,200.
Right, 4,200 grams. Right, very good. So what is the total weight now in grams?
6,450.
6,450
grams.
And we want our answer in what unit?
Kilograms.
So what do I have to do last?
Move the point 3 places to the left.
All right, and where will that get me?
1, 2, 3. 6.45.
Divided by 1,000, and we'll get
6.45
And what is our unit?
kilograms.
Kilograms. Excellent job, Micah. Excellent, excellent job.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you for that call. All right, so an alternate approach, guys, would have been to convert the pumpkin to 2.25 kilograms, and then we would have added 4.20 to 2.25, and we would have gotten the same answer, right? So I am out of time for today, but that should have covered enough in our weight conversion, mass conversion, because it ties in also to the units of length conversion. Please finish the units of length assignment by tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. and look out on Saturday for some more questions. I will feature more units of length as well as units of mass conversions for you to get that additional practice, all right? So thank you so much for your call. You'll be joined in a couple of minutes by Miss Nyla, who will be taking us through the creative writing this evening. I have been your math teacher, Sir Ijaz. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on Monday. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.
Sheikley Show Limited, the Caribbean's largest manufacturers of plain and printed paper bags, leaders in plastic bags, vermicelli, split piece powder, and greaseproof paper, ideal for doubles, french fries, and sandwiches. Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Sheikley Show Limited, 665-3336.
I'm a cool kid, you're a cool kid, we are cool kids, are you a cool kid? Every day I want it, I need to drink lots of it, full of fruit, vitamin C, give me lots of it. My imagination is growing and so am I. I'm getting big, so give me fruit the cool kids, it's so juicy, so I could touch the sky.
Become a cool kid now by visiting www.fruitycoolkids.com.
IBN can be viewed on the go now with the Airlink TV app for Google devices. Simply go to the Google Play Store, search for the Airlink TV app. Download the app, click on the link and fill out the form. The account activation will be emailed or texted to the user. It's safe as no credit card is needed. The first 30 days are free and you can subscribe and receive a box for your TV to stream the same content.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, guys, and welcome to C Results. Thank you for joining me. I'm Miss Nyla, and now we'll be starting the creative writing segment, well, the final creative writing segment for this week. So we started off looking at the elements of a story, and in that we are looking at narrative style writing. So far we have completed the setting. We looked through a lot of character description, So we looked at character description for humans. We looked at emotions that they may experience within your story. And now we are moving on to description of creatures. Now on Tuesday, we started this just briefly, however. So today we'll be starting completely over for description of creatures. So let's begin with that. So we just completed the first 2 slides or so, so just for the sake of everyone, and we're just going to recap and start over, right? And we're going to start with description of part, size, shape, color, and covering. So when you're talking about creatures, you can talk about something that is not human, of course, so a monster, a vampire, porcupine-like body. And we said here that we have to picture when they say a porcupine-like, right? Think about what a porcupine's body look like, right? How is it shaped? How does it feel? So if you happen to stand next to a porcupine, right? How close will you go? All of these things, when you say porcupine-like, right, tells us about your character. You don't actually have to say, well, there were spikes or anything like that. You can tell us porcupine-like, and we can imagine that. And that's what we want you to do. Use your descriptive vocabulary, your figurative language to help you express, whatever you want to say in your story, right? That's the reason it's there. It's the reason we covered all of those things to make it easier for you. A hideous creature crawled out from behind a tree. It was part ape and part scorpion. This creature here, right, has 2 parts to his body. Part ape, and you know what an ape looks like, and part scorpion. So is this anything that you have seen before, right? It's from your wild imagination, and that's what we want there, something we don't know about, right? Creates mystery and some sort of suspense to your reader. A winged creature with a terrifying, demonic face swooped down from the ceiling. So here, they're telling you that this creature here can fly, right? So you don't have to say he was soaring in the sky or anything like that. You're telling us here a winged creature, and the fact that you said swoop down, we know that this creature can fly. And demonic face. So is that a pleasant creature, right? No, it's not. So when you see the word demonic there, see the word demonic, what do you think about, right? Is it a creature, that does something good in your story, right? Or is it like the villain in your story, right? All of this here tells us about your character. The island was guarded by a fierce sea monster with an enormous humped serpentine body and a hideous cockroach head. So much like point 2 here, where they talk about the different heads or the body of the character here tells us about this creature, right? So we know it's a sea monster, so it's this scenario may be taking place out in the ocean, right? Probably near an island. And it's telling us that this is an enormous humped serpentine body and a hideous cockroach head, right? So we know what the body looks like, long, slender, right? Might be sticky, slimy, all of those things, and a hideous cockroach head. And how many of us here like what a cockroach looks like, or we run at the first sight of it, right? Moving on, we're still on the descriptors here. Its hairy whiskers were long, purple, and twitching, right? So now they're describing how the whiskers of this creature looks and what is happening here. The 5-headed monstrous beast was covered in bulging green spots. So this monster now has 5 heads, unlike the previous ones we came across that had two heads, but one being a scorpion and probably the other being an insect, right? Here it's a 5-headed monstrous beast, which was covered in bulging green spots. Now, the fact that you said green spots there, you can tell us something about those green spots. Maybe those green spots were used to spray out poison or something like that, right? It must serve some purpose. The sun glinted on the sharp spikes sprouting from its legs. So just like we have the green spots here, the sun glinted on the sharp spikes, the same sharp spikes here, right, can be used, again, to discharge poison or some venomous substance. Below the waist, it was covered in black fur. So previously, we looked at the upper torso or the upper part of the creature, right? And we noticed it talk about its body or its head or its variations of heads. So here it's telling you below the waist, it was covered in black fur. So yes, you can give us that it was a 5-headed monstrous beast, and then you can come and tell us below the waist it was covered in black fur. Grinning maliciously at him was an ugly little goblin with a sly face and hard leathery skin covered in warts. Right? So here again, it's telling us what kind of smile this creature has here, right? How it's looking at you. How do you feel if something is staring at you maliciously? Do you want to run for your life, or are you going to stand there, right, and face that? Now let's talk about the head. And when we're talking about the head, we can talk a little bit about the face here, right? It explains a little bit about the face of the character. Huge folds of sagging skin drooped from its long, snarling face. So picture that, right? This creature actually has some sort of human-like or something human, right, that you can relate to when they say folds of sagging skin. But the skin doesn't need to be like human skin, right? You can use your imagination and build on that. Make it a little different, something that we have never seen before or heard of. Its small, narrow head had a rounded beak like a turtle. So we know now this creature, its head is small, right? And then there's a rounded beak. And if you're familiar with a turtle and how a turtle looks, right, you would know that it might have a small, rounded beak. Hence the reason they use that comparison there. 2 long corkscrew horns grew from its cone-shaped head, right? So picture a cone-shaped head, right? Picture the shape of a cone. And 2 horns coming out from the top of that head. What do you think they're going to use that horns for, right? Are they going to attack you with that? Are you going to be running, right? How far will that scenario lead? Rubbery feelers sprouted from its mouth, right? And that's self-explanatory there. Tells you about the feelers of that creature. Stinger-tipped tentacles hung from its enormous wedge-shaped head. So here they're telling you that this creature here has tentacles. But the fact that it said stinger-tipped tells a lot about that tentacles there. So we know if you were attacked in this scenario, right, and you come into contact with those tentacles, right, what's most likely the outcome there, right? Stinger-tipped. So most likely it might be poisonous or some sort of effect like that. A stream of venom shot in the air from the blowhole on top of its head. So all of these creatures here appear, you know, to be shooting venom or something like that, right? But look at the variation of sentences. There are so many ways that you can express the same thing. So this is what we want you to do. Look at these sentences here, these example sentences. Follow them in your writing, just like you have to do for your assignment this week on emotions for creative writing, right? It's a lot like that, where you can look at our example and follow it. This is what we want you to do in your actual writing. So, for instance, if you don't get a topic like this in school, right, where you have to describe a creature or you come into contact with some sort of danger, right, look for a topic at home and practice your writing. So you can practice using some of these sentences, become familiar with them, right? So if you are given such a topic in the essay room, you know you would not be caught off guard. You are ready, you are prepared. You say, you know what, I did this already, or you did something similar to it, right? So that's important for you to do a lot of practice style writing. This is where, you know, experience is going to come in here. So you get a topic and you are not caught off guard, right? That's the whole idea about it. Moving on. It opened its mouth to reveal thin, needle-sharp teeth. So we're looking at the teeth here of this creature, needle-sharp. Are you going to put your hand in this creature's mouth, right? Do you want it to bite you, right? What will happen if it does? Fangs curled beneath its chin and dribbled with blood from its last kill. So now they're explaining to you, you know, how this probably a serpent here, how it looks, right, after it has just attacked probably your best friend, your neighbor, whoever you are with in the scenario, maybe even you, right? Now he's curled beneath his chin and dribbled with blood from his last kill. Its forked tongue flickered constantly, tasting the air in search of its prey, right? So you are running for your life. You picture this, probably through a dark forest, and you're seeing the serpent, you know, slithering behind you with a forked tongue, you know, flickering. How are you going to feel, right? What are you going to do? What is going to be your next step? Now let's talk a little bit about eyes, the piercing eyes that a creature or your character may have in your story. How can this creature look at you, right? What do you see when he's looking at you? Let's see. Its beady black eyes glinted with greed. Maybe you were caught in a corner, right? And you're looking deep into the serpent's eyes or monster's eyes or whatever it is, and you can see he's looking at you with greed. He's ready to eat you, right? You have no way to escape. That's the end of the road there for you. Well, maybe, right? Depends how your story unfolds. Its red eyes burned with a cruel light from its long, snarling face, similarly to the point above, right? It's telling you the same thing. You can be in the same scenario, but look at the expression here. It describes the eyes differently here with a cruel light. Cruel light. What comes to mind if you hear the expression cruel light, right? What type of creature is this? What scenario are you in? Picture it. Goggling yellow eyes glinted from rubbery twitching eyes. So, picture this. Some big, googly eyes looking at you, right? And you're probably in a dark place, but all you are seeing is the eyes. You are seeing the eyes from this beast, right? It's so wide, it's so bright, right? And you thought you were going to escape, but all of a sudden, these eyes are staring at you, right? What are you going to do, right? Are you going to scale the wall? Are you going to dig a hole, right? All of these things you must picture. Above the curved beak, as sharp as a blade, its orange eyes burned like furnaces, right? So just like the previous points above, right, that they're explaining the eyes to you, but they also mention above the curved beak as sharp as a blade. So they're telling you here, this beak here, they're explaining to you a little bit about this beak. And I'm just going to read this last one quickly here. It had a single round red eye in the middle of its forehead. And we're going to discuss that as soon as we come back. We're just going to take a break for the Maghrib Adhan. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after the Maghrib Adhan. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, guys, and welcome back to See Results with me, Miss Nyla, and we are here. We're doing some creative writing. So just before the break, we were looking at character description of creatures, right? And we are on to description of eyes. And we are now on the last point here, which says it had a single rounded red eye in the middle of its forehead, right? So a lot of times we might use this description here, you know, a single round eye or 3 eyes or something like that, right? So you can just so simply say a single round eye in the middle of its forehead, right? Now that's really scary to picture and to think about, right? So it's a great one to use there if you were trying to get your reader, you know, enticed or scared or whatever it is, you know, from the description of your character. So now let's look at descriptions of arms and legs. Its arms were small, useless stumps with webbed fingers. Now, if we say webbed fingers, what are we talking about, right? And if you're not sure what webbed might look like, you can probably picture chicken feet, right? Or any of those animals like that have those type of feet, and well, no, it's better to describe it than webbed, right? So it's like a joining between the fingers. It's a little freaky, you know, slightly scary to think about, but that's the aim here, and that is what we want. So its arms were small, useless stumps with webbed fingers. There were long, deadly brass talons on the end of her fingers. So now they're telling you here her fingers, right, were long, deadly brass talons. So they were like claws, right? So picture those fingers coming at you, looking like talons, right? So like bird claws. How are you going to feel, right? Think about that. Each of its 6 fingers had claws as sharp as razor blades. So now we know, unlike humans, where we have 5 fingers mostly on one hand, this creature here, right, has 6 fingers. So it's a little different. And it also has claws. And not only does it have claws, but the claws are also sharp as razor blades. So one swipe, right, and you might be in shreds. Its arms were so long its knuckles graze along the ground. This one here is simple, tells you about the length of its arm and what is happening as a result of that. A single large foot extended from one thick leg in the middle of its body, right? Is this anything that you have seen before, heard before? Right? What comes to mind when you read such a sentence or such a description? The giant shuffled clumsily on its 3 trunk legs and large tortoise feet. So not only is this character a giant, now they're telling you here, right? He has 3 trunk legs and large tortoise feet. Now if you're familiar with tortoise's feet, and you probably looked at a couple pictures, you will see they're actually like a tree trunk, right? So might be a little short, stumpy, but also very large, right? And has a particular shape, its nails and so on. So you can probably check that out if you're interested in writing such a sentence or description. It was a thin, 2-legged beast with 7 clawed toes on each foot. Again, a little different. Now they have 7 toes on each foot. It had legs like a horse, and its cushioned paws were tipped with vulture claws, sorry. So legs like a horse. What do you know about horses' legs, right? And they're usually probably long and pretty strong, right? And then it says cushioned paws were tipped with vulture claws. So vulture claws here. And if you know about a vulture also, it's a really large bird, right? Also very strong. And you can think about its claws, right? The claws of a vulture. Pretty frightening. Now what about if your creature has wings and a tail? What can you say about that? Let's see. Its thick, heavy tail dragged along behind it. The club at the end thumped on the ground with every step, right? So this here, probably thinking about something along the lines of a dinosaur maybe, right? Something shaped like that. And when it said the club at the end there, you're thinking about its tail. So at the very end of its tail there, right, there's a club. So You can probably do a little research on that if you would like to see what that club looks like, right? So it's like a little sharp object there to the end of the tail, usually pointy, right? Its tail was broad and flat, like a squashed pine cone. So you can also picture what a pine cone is, and picture it smashed, right, or squashed, and add that to the end of a tail, right? And you can more or less picture what a club looks like. The spikes studded along its length made it a lethal weapon. So now here, you know, they're just telling you what the tail can do, right? Or they're telling you how deadly that tail is, right? So one lash with that, right? Or one wipe, one whip, and you are gone, right? It's a lethal weapon. It's deadly. It hung from the branch by its long lemur-like tail and swung towards them, bearing its needle-sharp teeth. So this creature probably lives on a tree, right, in the forest. And here it has a long lemur-like tail. And if you're also familiar with the lemurs, you know they have really long tails, right, and they help them to move around. So they're swinging here on that long tail, or hanging upside down maybe, right, using their tail. And they also have needle-sharp teeth. Its 4 poisonous spines were thrust like spears, thrashing the air, searching for its target, right? So you're in the dark, you're running, you heard a noise, you started to run, and then all of a sudden, right, you are seeing probably a light, right? It's piercing red eyes, searching through the darkness, and that's all you can see. And next thing you know, you're seeing its needle-sharp teeth, right? All of these things I want you to describe when you are writing. Use it to describe your characters properly. Give your character a personality. Let the character tell the story for you. Now, what about smell and sound? How would such a monster or such a creature smell? Can you picture that, right? Is that a familiar smell to you? May or may not be, right? She retched as the creature drew near, and the stench of decay and rotten flesh wafted towards her, right? So this creature maybe lived underground, right? Or probably in a lake full of moss. Didn't come out for years, many years, right? As it grew closer to her, she retched. It's like she wanted to vomit. She made that reaction at the scent or stench of the decay and rotten flesh coming towards her, right? So that's quite a smell there, right? I would not like to witness that, and I'm not sure how many of you feel the same way. The dragon's breath smelt of smoke and sulfur, right? This one is nice and simple. Its fur reeked of decaying plants and foul water from years spent in the swamp. Good, so this monster here lives in the swamp, and it smells a certain way because it has been, it probably lived there its entire life, right? So it's a swamp monster, you know what they say, like the Loch Ness monster and all of those things. Even though it was invisible, she knew the death spirit was near, from the pungent odor of decaying fish surrounded her. So now this creature or this organism or whatever it is, you know, non-human-like, right? It's invisible. You can't see it, but you know it's there because it has a distinct odor. What about sound? What can we say about sound? The sound of the piercing squawk rang in his ears, right? So picture a large bird making a noise, right? Really loud, piercing the air, right? This is what you're going to get, a ringing sound in your ear that really resonates with you. It threw back its head and let out a mournful howl. So maybe a hungry animal in search of its prey, right? They're about to attack, right? Or probably off to hunt, something like that. Or maybe even calling their pack, right? Some sort of action. A loud hooting call echoed through the night, right? So maybe an owl, right? Or it doesn't have to be an owl because remember, these are creatures, but something owl-like or has a feature that the owl does. The silence was pierced by a high-pitched scream in the trees, right? So maybe this thing, creature, monster, right, lives in the trees, or so happened to get on a tree close to where you are. And you are now hearing, all of a sudden, probably you were fast asleep and you heard a high-pitched scream coming from a tree outside, are you going to investigate or are you going to go back to sleep? Maybe you're going to go under your covers or even under your bed, right? All those are possible scenarios that can take place in your story. The hideous beast had imitated her father's voice to lure her into its den. Now, this one here is a bit supernatural, right? You must have seen some of these things like in movies. And you can see here, they're telling you, or you can see here rather, that they're telling you that this beast is using a voice similar to her father's, right? So he's trying to encourage her to go into its den. But is it really her father? What is going to happen to her when she goes in? Is she going to be trapped? Is she going to be tricked, right? We want to find out. Now let's look at habitat, homes, right? So this here is what I want you to really pay attention to. Yes, everything else is important, but why I'm saying habitat is important as well, or a little more important, because sometimes in our stories, we tend to use the same setting, or if we want to change up our setting, it's something familiar, right? Or you may not know where to take your story to. So we are probably accustomed with a cave, a forest, maybe on the road, in your house, in your attic, something like that. So I'm going to show you, a couple different places where your story can take place. So be particularly, attentive here, so right, and let a few, be embedded in your memory. I want you to remember them for your writing. Make it a little different. So let's take a look. It stood in the middle of the ocean, and at a distance, it appeared to be an enormous rock. So where is this creature? Here, it's in the ocean. So notice this is the first setting here, right? This one is ocean, and it's at a distance, it appeared to be an enormous rock. So you're standing far out, maybe at shore, right? And you're looking out into the ocean, and in the middle of the ocean, right? Because how far you are standing, it appears to just be a rock. But maybe as it comes closer to you, you can see all the, attributes being unfolded. It hid in the rocks and only came out at night to search for prey, right? So this habitat here will be rocks. Here we had ocean, here we had rocks. Who knew, right? That could have been a hiding spot. They found the tin creature living in a seashell hidden by a seaweed, right? So here, this habitat is actually a seashell, in a seashell, right? So here we had ocean, we had a rock, and now we have a seashell. It lived underground and tunneled through the earth, uprooting trees in its path. Where is the habitat of this creature? It's actually underground, right? So far we have 4 different habitats. We have the ocean, we have rocks, we have a seashell, and here we have underground. And I'm sure there are lots, that you have in mind, or you use your imagination to help you when you are writing. For this, pay attention for those of you who are accustomed using, one setting, right? You're accustomed with a forest or a cave or whatever it is. This might be useful to you. The lake was guarded by a huge humped monster that stretched from shore to shore. Its humps looked like islands dotted across the water. So this habitat here is actually in a lake. But now let's analyze this sentence carefully. The lake was guarded by a huge humped monster, right? So we know this monster has a huge hump, right? And it's saying here that the hump was so huge, right? It stretched from shore to shore, right? It might be literally or figuratively. Let's see. That stretched from shore to shore. Its humps look like islands dotted across the water. So have you ever looked out into the ocean and seen like small islands, right, running across? So this is what they're saying here, but it was actually a monster, right, or humps on a monster's back, right, that looked like islands, but in fact it was just humps on the monster's back. So picture how enormous, how huge, right, this monster is. The hag lived in a house guarded by a fence of human bones, lit by skulls with glowing eyes. Right, so here, this habitat is actually in a house, a regular, plain, old-fashioned house. But look at the description here. So we know it's a hag, right? She already, because of her being a hag already, we know that it has certain things attached to that. So it might be scary, you know, she might do witchcraft, all of those things. But now they're saying here that the house itself was guarded by a fence of human bones. Now, why would it be guarded by a fence of human bones, right? Does she eat people, right? What does she do? Lit by skulls with glowing eyes. So the skulls, part of the human bones, right? And the glowing eyes here, maybe she had a candle in the skull, right? Something like that. The vicious spirit had sneaked into their house and was living in the booths. So here, right, this creature actually moved into their house, but where was he living? In booths, right? So maybe your favorite pair of boots, you went and you were about to go to the garden and you were putting on your boots and you felt something stick you, right? Something, you turned over your boots and you saw something mysterious or magical, and out come a green mist, and so on, right? Use your imagination to help you, right? So how would you like to build up your character? Okay, so that's basically it there for character description of a creature. So we looked at a number of things for character description of humans, right? For example, same size, shape, you know, probably eyes, ears, nose, hands, all of those things, voice, movement of a human character. And we just looked at a couple things, right, for creatures in your story. So your story can go either way. It can be a mix, you know, of both human and creature-like. It can be one, it can be either or, whatever you choose for it to be, right? The important thing is for you to follow these examples, come up with your own maybe, right? If you have your own style of writing or you have a special set of descriptors you like to use, make sure they are interesting, right? And that they are what you want your reader, you know, to get the best impression of you when they read those lines. Now, what we're going to do, we're just going to look at a paragraph, and we're going to see how to use these descriptors in a paragraph. Just as we did at the end of human characters, we looked at a couple paragraphs, you know, to help us describe emotion in a paragraph or how a character looks. Here, we're going to look at a paragraph that sums up basically the character description or physical appearance of a creature. So let's look at this paragraph here. It looked as if there were two creatures twisted together, but as it moved its huge slime green body, Robert could see that it was actually a two-headed monster with a hyena's head at the front and a serpent's head at the back, right? So here, just like what we discussed earlier with the creature's head, this creature also has two heads, right? One being a hyena's and the other being a serpent's. And they also, in addition to telling us about the head, they talked to us a little bit or told us a little bit about its body. The vile creature was so terrifying that anyone who crossed its path felt its wrath. So we know that it's a dangerous creature and no one is going to get away from its wrath, right? They're going to feel that anger. You are not going to be spared, right? So if you're probably you probably ended up in the wrong place or you did something, right? You are going to experience this. The beast was covered in green spots, which emitted poisonous mist to sedate its prey. So just as I said, whether your creature has spots, spikes, whatever they have, warts, right? You can probably use that to give us some additional information. In this case, it emitted poisonous mist. And for what reason? What purpose does that mist serve? Here, to sedate its prey. So now, if he sprays you with that or injects you with that, right, you cannot move. You have to stay there. It becomes easier for that creature to attack you, eat you, right? It will be a fatal ending. Robert kept his eyes fixed to the floor, avoiding the creature's piercing stare, which he knew would turn him into stone. So look at that line, right? What does it tell us there, right? So why is Robert staring at the floor? What is going to happen if he looks at the creature directly in its eyes? It says that he's going to be turned into stone. So maybe that piercing red stare, right, that is the result of it. If you look deep into his eyes, right, or, you know, you come into contact, right? So he's looking at you, you're looking at him, and you make that contact there, that's exactly what's going to happen. You may be turned into stone. So Robert here is keeping his gaze fixed on the floor. He's trying to avoid that. Suddenly, whipping its head around, it spat out a stream of acid, which sizzled as it hit the ground at Robert's feet, or at his feet, right? So suddenly, you didn't know this was coming, right? He's spin around so quickly, right, and spat out a stream of acid. So now his saliva is acid, right? It's not only poisonous, it's going to melt your skin, right, or make your skin fall off, or whatever it is, right? With sizzle, it's so hot, it's burning as it hit the ground at his feet. So we don't know what became of Robert there, but I am sure that you can use your imagination to help you probably complete the story, right? Or maybe write a paragraph or two to round it up, right? So I hope, just as I have written this paragraph here, I hope that you do the same, right, to help you to tie all these sentences together, right, to really make it useful to you. So let's go back a little bit now to the elements of a story. So we are basically done or finished with setting of a story and character description. So now we are on to the plot of a story, right? In the plot of a story, we have to look at exposition in a story, the rise in action, climax, fall in action, and resolution, right? So we are going to do so now, and let's see how much of that we can probably get done. Here, what I have for you is just a plot diagram. It tells us, you know, just as we have here explained to you what the plot entails, same as the diagram, right? So the exposition tells us, right, the beginning of the story where characters and setting are introduced. So the exposition is basically introducing the characters and the setting to your story. That's the first part, right, in most cases. You're moving along with your story, you have the rise in action. So where the main character faces a series of conflicts. So as your story moves along, you introduce your story, right? You know, it's a setting given, characters given, maybe not all of your characters, but some, right? And then here they end up in some sort of problem or conflict. Then you have to move on to the climax of your story, right? And now you're asking, what is the climax of your story? The climax of your story is the most exciting part of the story when we learn the outcome. So you're in a conflict, right? And now in that conflict, something so serious, right, or so exciting is happening, right? Like the peak of your story, right? As you are coming down to the end of your story, you move on to the fall in action, which are the events leading to the end of the story. And then finally, you have your resolution, which is at the end of your story. So using this plot diagram here, I am going to provide you with a story, and we are going to look for the exposition, the rise in action, climax, fall in action, and resolution of a story. Because it's important that you understand that you must have all of these elements in the plot. It is important that we have all of this. You must have an exposition. You must also have a rise in action. Climax is so important. And then, of course, you'll have a fall in action and a resolution. You must include all of those in your story. So look at this topic here, right? This is the topic for the essay that follows. You were playing a cricket game with your friends when suddenly the ball was accidentally hit into the neighbor's window. Write a story about the events that led to the incident, how you felt, and how you went about trying to retrieve the ball. So you can read this topic over. What is usually important when you get a topic, you must read it a couple times. Read it 5 times if you need to. Do not rush. Sometimes we read this topic, all right, at first glance we begin writing, adrenaline, you know, is pumping, and we are ready to write. But then you are missing key information. So what is important, like I said before, you must underline the key parts, right, of your topic. So let's read and let us underline what we must include in our story. If you forget any one or two details from here, just know that marks are going to be deducted, and that is what we do not want, at all. You were playing a cricket game with your friends when suddenly the ball was accidentally hit into the neighbor's window. So first thing, you were playing a cricket game, right, with your friends when suddenly the ball was accidentally hit into the neighbor's window. So whose window? Your neighbor's window. Write a story about the events that led to the incident. So you know that you have to talk about certain things that happened. So while we were playing the game, right, probably a couple things happened there. And what is the result of that? The incident being the ball hit into the neighbor's window. How you felt? Emotion here. Emotion is important, as I always emphasize throughout your story. Not at any one point, but throughout your story, you must say how you are feeling or how the character is feeling, how you felt and how you went about trying to retrieve the ball. So look at all the key information here. Everything highlighted or underlined is what you must include in your story. After you have done this, reread the topic, right? Keep those points in mind for when you start writing or planning, as we did in the brainstorming stage in the writing process, you have all of these things in mind. Right, so read it over, and I'll do so with you before we begin. You were playing a cricket game with your friends when suddenly the ball was accidentally hit into the neighbor's window. Write a story about the events that led to the incident, how you felt, and how you went about trying to retrieve the ball. Right? So what is also important here, for essay, of course, you're not going to have the chance to use the writing process with the 5 stages that we came across, but for now you still have time before the essay exam, so I suggest that you use the writing process to help you. And if you missed that episode, guys, with the writing process, be sure to go back on YouTube or on Facebook via the SeeResults page. Look for that video entitled The Writing Process, and rewatch that video. The writing process is important, for us to perfect our essay, right? And it starts with the brainstorming stage, where you actually have to plan what you are going to write. And then you can move on to your first draft, your second draft, revise, and so on. Right? But we have already done that, so we are going to move ahead with the story. So let's see. Let's look at the story, and bear in mind, we are looking for the exposition, right? So introduction to character and setting is our first element that we are focusing on. Crash. The green fuzzy ball went straight through my neighbor's window, which was carelessly left open. Again, I'm going to read that over. Crash. The green fuzzy ball went straight through my neighbor's window, which was carelessly left open. The cricket game was tied. My team was just about to win when a powerful 6 sent the ball flying across Mr. Nelson's yard and into his front window. Sadly, my neighbor, Mr. Nelson, was not at home. My friends and I packed up our paraphernalia and marched inside. Everyone was disappointed. We sat on the comfortable furniture and watched an exciting movie. Hopefully, we thought it would make us stop thinking about the cricket match. So looking at this first paragraph here, right, what do you see? What are some of the first things that come to your mind? While we are not critiquing this piece, I just want to point out a few things to you, right? So look at the beginning here of your essay, right? How does this child start the writing? And if you also remember, I gave you all approximately 10 ways, right? If you are struggling or you are usually want to struggle with the beginning of an essay, you sit there thinking, wasting 10 minutes of your time. How do I start this essay, right? I gave you 10 simple ways, right, and examples for you to follow and to guide you how to start your essay. So all of these are things we have already learned, and I hope that you are applying in your writing, right? So from this paragraph here, you must have noticed the way the child started the paragraph and, one or two emotions expressed. And bear in mind that we are looking for the setting and the character, or the introduction to the setting and the character here, right? I'm not going to go into this any further because we are almost out of time, So on Tuesday, when we have creative writing again, we are going to look at the elements of a plot, right? Everything that a plot entails, right? And hopefully we can get that done in one episode or not, right? We'll see how it goes. But before we go, right, of course I have to take this time, as you all know, IBN TV and San Juan Muslim Ladies Organization is holding an essay writing competition, right? And in this essay writing competition, you have to write on the topic, why I love to fast in Ramadan, right? It's open to boys and girls 12 and under, and it's actually due Friday the 10th of April, which is after the essay exam, right? So you still have a lot of time. Don't be bombarded by that, right? You still have time to write on that essay. It must, however, be handwritten and addressed to this address given below, right? This slide is provided, of course, on all of our creative writing videos, so be sure to go back and check out the information if you need to, right? And if you have any questions about the essay, feel free to also send us a little message via SeeResults. Also, guys, it's really important to note, I would think, you know, we have some incredible cash prizes. First place actually receives $5,000, while the second place winner gets a hearty $3,000, and the third place gets $2,000. So we have incredible prizes here, right? So it's just an incentive for you, you know, to participate in the essay writing competition, as well as to share your talent with our fellow writers. And be sure to be mindful of the deadline date here, right? And also, as we usually do, for our new viewers and persons who would like to register on our Edmodo app, and just to reiterate, Edmodo is an educational app where we post quizzes from the week's episodes, right there. So for mathematics, ELA, and creative writing. So this is the class code. If you are joining the class, you're a new student, new parent, this is the class code for you to join. Instructions are simple for both students and parents, as it is listed right below, right? Again, this information is also posted on our SeeResults page, and it's very easy for you to find. I urge you to participate, you know, take all the quizzes. Parents, you as well, monitor the progress of your child, right? It's a great opportunity, as well as, you know, a forum for students to exchange ideas and questions and so on, right? It has proven itself to be really useful over the almost 2 months, right, since we have started. So guys, so we are out of time, and rejoin us every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for mathematics, ELA, and creative writing, of course, right? I do hope you have a pleasant evening and a wonderful weekend. Please do lots of revision. I know some of you may not want to hear that, but just remember, SEA is, you know, right around the corner, and each week it is one step closer, right? So hard work really pays off, and you're going to see that shortly. Okay, guys, so do have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Please God. Assalamu alaikum.